Hello, YouTube world. Thanks for checking in the Khaliis Take. If this is your first time to the channel, please like, subscribe. Also hit the notification bell so you can get the newest content first. And you want to check out my other videos prior to this one. I think you'll like the videos. I think you'll like the content. And I think you'll definitely be intrigued by some of the topics as well. But today's Take of the Day, I want to talk about the biggest disappointments in the NBA. There's certain teams every year when the NBA season starts, or in any sport, there's always teams that you think that are going to be really good, that really have a edge, or a team that should be playing with a sense of urgency. There should be, a team that you look at that should stand out amongst all the other teams. And they don't show up for some reason, and you can't figure out why. So my biggest disappointments between the Western Conference, Eastern Conference. Let's just go ahead and start with the Eastern Conference. My Eastern Conference, I'm looking at the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics have been a team the last several years, and I've said this in my other videos as well about the Boston Celtics, so please go ahead and check those out. But I've said before, the Boston Celtics are one of those teams where I feel like they should just be better. They should be much better than what they are. They should have a much better record than what they have. They should just be a much better, well-rounded team, because, and then on top of that, everybody talks about camaraderie, chemistry, all that. Well, the Celtics should have plenty of that. They've been together for a while, especially their core players. They've, added, they had a Aaron Baines, a Daniel Tice. They, may have swapped out players like that, and well, they did swap out Kyrie. Kyrie left or whatever in one of his another situation. But besides that, they've pretty much been the same team. And they've had some decent role players, but their core players, and Tatum and Brown are still there. And to me, that's what they should have built off of. And to me, I feel like they're just a big disappointment in this season, because every year, the last 3 or 4 seasons, there's been a lot of fans that I've seen online, social media, somewhere, picking them to go to the finals from the East. But picking them to go to the finals and then making it is two different things, of course. But it just seems as if they're not good enough to make it, because somehow last year, the Miami Heat went to the NBA Finals with Goran Dragic as one of their top scorers. I mean, Jimmy Butler's a pretty good player, don't get me wrong, but really Jimmy Butler is a number 2 player on a championship team. He's not a number 1 player on a championship team. Let's just keep it real. I mean, he's really good, but he can't win you the championship. He's just not that good. He's not that type of player. But I will say he is championship material, because, hey, he took that team all the way to the finals. Even though it was in the bubble, I still got to give him credit. I'm not sure if he does that on a regular playing field, or, without the 4-month layoff going into a bubble. But, hey, that benefited him and the Miami Heat the most. Is why they made it the furthest. So I got to give him credit there. But at the same time, the Celtics should have been the team that actually went to the finals. And a lot of people had them picked between the last 2-3 seasons. This team's got talent. This team has been together. And right now, when you look at them, they're 25 and 25. They're playing 500 basketball. That just doesn't seem right with the talent that they have on that team. And a lot of people praise the coach, Brad Stevens, how good of a coach he is and how good he is with the X's and O's, and, how he knows, the offense, and how he knows how to run a team. Yeah, all that's good, but no championship. See, it's coaches like him to get a lot of praise, and it's coaches like the one for the Toronto Raptors, the coach that they have, he gets no credit. But he had one superstar for 1 year and coached them to a championship. Made the Nick Nurse is his name, I forgot, Nick Nurse, made the necessary adjustments to win a championship. Because you got to remember, Kawhi Leonard was hurt in the playoffs. Kawhi wasn't even 100% with the Raptors that year. I mean, he low managed through the whole year, and he got hurt in the playoffs, so he wasn't even 100%. So Nick Nurse had to make some adjustments coaching-wise that put them in position to win some of those series, because, I mean, without Kawhi Leonard's heroics and some of his coaching, that really actually helped and put them in good position, they wouldn't have made it to the NBA Finals. I mean, nobody picked the Toronto Raptors to go to the NBA Finals that year. Nobody picked them to go past the second round. But that's the thing. When you have good coaching, it puts all the superstars, the role players, it puts all of them in the position they need to be in to succeed. And when you're doing that, everybody plays at their maximum. Everybody plays at their max. I mean, Jason Tatum, honestly, he's a superstar of that team. He should be playing at his max consistently almost every night. But it's something about maybe with the team and the coaching, he's just not tapping into them players the way he's supposed to. Those players are not responding the way they're supposed to. They're not looking at him the way they're supposed to, and they're not playing with that sense of urgency. And when you don't do that, you subject yourself to be a 500 basketball team or less. And that's exactly what the Celtics are. And that's the reason why I say they're the biggest disappointment. And to me, I've said before in my other videos, but you can check it out if you don't believe me. Hey, Kemba Walker's not the answer, bro. Kemba Walker's not the answer, bro. No, Kemba Walker is not that. Kemba Walker is good. He's really good. I'll give you that. I mean, would I take him, over a lot of players? Yeah, I probably would. But at the same time, he's not that player, bro. He's not the player that's going to get you to the championship. I think they had a better chance with Terry Rozier myself, because Terry Rozier was developing into, I feel like by now he would have developed into the type of player that they need, the type of point guard they need. He can hit baskets, big shots when they need him to, but he also plays gritty and rough on the defensive end. And because he's a threat as far as scoring himself some, I think he can average maybe 18, 19 points a game, 17, something like that. Because he's somewhat of a threat of knocking down a three or scoring himself or taking it into the teeth of the defense. It makes the Celtics more dangerous. See, Kemba Walker has moments and spurts where he does this, that, and plays at a certain level, but it's not consistent enough. That's the reason why they're not as good of a team now as they were when they had Terry Rozier. They were better when they had him because he was more of the type of point guard they needed. He was more of the blue collar type, hard working, get it out the grind. Get it out the trenches type point guard. And that's exactly what they needed, even though he probably could have played the two position, but still he was their point guard and he was what they had. And Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown fit with him better, and Marcus Smart. They fit with him better. He just fit that whole he fit that whole system that they have. And I feel like when they lost him, they lost a lot in a player, in a potential up and coming player. And I feel like even Gordon Hayward was a good fit for them too. I mean, he wasn't the Gordon Hayward he was with Utah, but he still was a good enough player to be a good role player for them, knock down some shots. And, I don't know. I just feel like they had the right team. I just don't know if the coaching is good enough. Now, Brad Stevens was a good coach in college, from what I remember, from what I know, but at the same time, this is a different level. And you got to coach on a different level mentally with these guys. And then playing 500 basketball, the Celtics, that's just not even, that's not even logical to me. The Celtics should be maybe a fourth seed, fifth seed in the East. The Celtics should be, they should just be way better than what they are, but they're not. And you are what your record is, so I have to say they're a disappointing team to me, and they need to get some stuff fixed there, because if they get bounced in the first round with the talent that they have, that would be even more disappointing, because it's like, wow, you know what I'm saying? You got a good team, and you got to do better with all the pieces that you have. And that youth that they have on that team is really good. So they got, some decent role players. I mean, I just think, they should be much better. I mean, right now, if the season ended, they would play Philadelphia first round. And I've said before, I feel like they always have Philadelphia's number. But for some reason, I'm not sure this time. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they do. I just think Philadelphia is just much better this time. But it wouldn't surprise me if they beat the 76ers in the first round if they played them right now. But I mean, I don't expect them to. I expect Philadelphia to beat them 4-1, 4-2. And that's that. Now, as far as my team in the Western Conference, I went back and forth with this one. I had, looked and did my research and tried to figure out, like, really who in the Western Conference has been a disappointment because there's a lot of great teams in the Western Conference. I mean, 1 through 8, you can say is formidable. I mean, it's just, I mean, every game, like the 3 seed to the 7 seed is like 1-2 games apart. So it's like every team in the Western Conference can give you a run, you know. But, you know, the team that really disappointed me in the Western Conference this year specifically, it's been Golden State. And I know a lot of people want to say, you know, Klay Thompson isn't there and he isn't there to save the day. You know, he isn't there to, you know, help Stephen Curry. All those are excuses, bro. All those are excuses. And I'm here to tell you, all those are excuses. Stephen Curry has been looked at as, revered as one of the greatest players in a lot of people's mind, the best shooter of all time. He's all these things. He was a mega superstar, and nobody was saying none of these things when he was winning. And everybody said it was all him when they were winning. You know, pretty much him and Draymond's defense with Kevin Durant. Nobody ever really mentioned Klay Thompson. Nobody ever really mentioned how detrimental Klay Thompson is to that team. Nobody mentioned nothing about elimination Klay. When they're getting ready to get eliminated, Klay Thompson's the one that always usually comes through. When they were getting ready to get eliminated against OKC, when they was up 3-1 with KD and Russell Westbrook, who saved the day in that game 5 or game 6, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was game 5. Right. They was up 3-1. Game 5, Klay Thompson hits 10 3-pointers, 10 threes to keep them alive, to go to the next game. And the next game, he balled out. See what I'm saying? Nobody gives Klay Thompson that credit. Nobody's never given Klay Thompson that credit. So, okay, since you don't want to give Klay Thompson the credit, that's fine. But where's Stephen Curry? Now, Stephen Curry looked great in the three-point shootout contest. Nobody's guarding you there. Stephen Curry looked great. You know what I'm saying? If he's just shooting by himself, hitting like 100 jumpers in a row, like in a practice or something like that, or a pregame, that's fine. But nobody's guarding you there. This is my point. The Warriors have been the biggest disappointment because you have one of the top superstars in this league that nobody discredits, that nobody says anything about. Stephen Curry has his team at 23-27. Stephen Curry is a superstar. Now, I know he doesn't have Klay Thompson, but Klay Thompson's one guy. And he's the one guy nobody never gives credit to anyway. I mean, it's been Steph and Klay for years. Everybody said it's all Steph. Steph does all the work. Steph does the magic. He makes the magic happen. He makes the team go. He does this. He does that. That's great. But why can't he have this team as a playoff team if he's that great? I think Stephen Curry is a great shooter. Great shooter. But how great of a player is he when you can't even lead your team to the playoffs? I mean, technically, like right now, technically they're like, I think 10th place in the West. They're not even an 8th seed right now. And like I said, it remains to be seen. There's several more games to go. And, you know, they got time. But if you look at throughout this year, Stephen Curry's had some really horrible games. He's had some really good games. But like I said, it's not consistent enough. And he's only consistent and only plays at his best when Klay Thompson is there. You know, the guy nobody really gives any credit to. But now all of a sudden, since Klay Thompson's been hurt these last 1 or 2 seasons, now they're like, oh, they'll be such a better team when Klay Thompson comes back. But you won't give Klay Thompson that credit when he was there. Because without Klay Thompson, I think Stephen Curry is, you know, I think he's a great player, but I don't think he's up there with the LeBrons and, you know, KD, Kawhis. I don't think he's up there with players like that, because players like that, they can at least carry their team to the playoffs in at least 1 or 2 rounds. Without another superstar, they can do that. LeBron's proven it. Kawhi definitely proved it with the Toronto Raptors the other year. He didn't have no other superstar. He took them all the way to the finals against Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry had a chance to prove then that he can close and seal the deal on his own. I mean, yeah, Klay Thompson got hurt in the NBA Finals, but he got hurt like game 3 or 4. So you had Klay Thompson for at least 2 or 3 games in the NBA Finals. You could have been up 2-1, 3-0. If you're up 2-1 and 3-0 or 3-0 in the NBA Finals, Kawhi and the Raptors probably wouldn't have won because you would have had all the momentum. And remember, back then it wasn't the COVID thing didn't hit then, so they still had fans. You know, they still had the crowd in the stadiums and all that. So you had the fans behind you. And I think that was the last time Oracle was, that was one of the last, hooplas of Oracle Arena. So you got to go out with a bang. And he struggled in that series. And as great as Stephen Curry is, a lot of people say he's great, and he is. No, I don't take that from him. But how great is he? He's never won a Finals MVP. At times, he doesn't even really look like the best player on the team. I mean, everybody know when Kevin Durant came there, he took over that team. He was the best player on the team, no doubt about it. And how does he look now that Klay Thompson's not there? Klay Thompson is your backbone. He's the one that make your game better. Stephen Curry's game is really not all that great because without Klay Thompson, as we see, they're not even an 8th seed. If Stephen Curry is as great as everybody makes him seem to be, how come he doesn't have this team as an 8th seed? I mean, really? Like, somebody tell me, how come Stephen Curry doesn't have this team as an 8th seed? I mean, you got the San Antonio Spurs that has a better record than the Golden State Warriors, and they don't even have a superstar. You have a superstar in this guy who's played most of the games this year. I know Steph missed some games because he was hurt, but the games he's played, he struggled in a lot of them, and then he had a little spurt for a while where he dropped a couple 30s and 40 points. Yeah, but that's not good enough. Where's the consistency that you were giving us years ago when Klay Thompson was there, when all those other great players were there? You don't need great players to help you get to the playoffs. If you're a great player, you can help your team get to the playoffs. You can't help them get past the first round or second round, but you should be good enough to help your team get to the playoffs. I mean, look at Anthony Davis when he played for the Pelicans. He got the Pelicans to the playoffs. The Pelicans were the 8th seed one year and they actually played the Warriors. They lost to the Warriors, I think 4-0, 4-1 or something like that. As a matter of fact, I think he got them to the second round because I think they beat Portland and Damian Lillard to get to the second round. I think so. So this is what I'm saying. A superstar should be able to get his team over the hump and get in the playoffs. And as constructed right now, the Warriors are such a disappointment because you have a superstar, you have some role players that I think that are decent. That Pascal dude, I think he's pretty decent. James Wiseman, even though he's been kind of hurt some, I think he's decent. You still got Draymond Green. You added Kelly Oubre, which I always thought he was trash. He's just always been a disappointment in the NBA to me. He's nothing but a little bit of hype man. He dunked on somebody and he think he earned his paycheck because he dunked on somebody, and that's really all he's worth. So he's pretty much garbage. And then, you do have Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins is not the number 1 pick or, the player we probably thought him to be when he first got drafted, but he is a really decent player. And he is a player who can score 17, 18 a game on average. And he can do that pretty consistently. I know he's not the most consistent player in the world, but he's pretty consistent. He can give you between 16 and 18 a game on pretty much on a consistent basis, for the most part. I know he has some games where he just doesn't look like he even belongs in the NBA. I get that, what I'm saying, because I've definitely watched him play many times on the Timberwolves, and I'm like, this dude's got 2 left feet sometimes. That's just my opinion of him. I just don't really see him excelling no more than what he already has, which is not far in his career. But my point is, you can say the same thing about Karl Anthony Towns, too. He's a disappointment, too, to me. I just don't see where anybody believes in Karl Anthony Towns. He's got a lot of talent, and he puts up a lot of points, but he's nothing but a Kevin Love in a different body form. That's all he is, because Kevin Love was the same thing with the Timberwolves. And it could just be the Timberwolves being a cursed team. I'm not sure, but Kevin Love really... He can never really lead a team anywhere because he never did. And listen, You know, he had several years in Minnesota with the Timberwolves, and even though they weren't the greatest team, but if he was what a lot of people thought of him to be back then he would have led them a lot further. But my point is, that's the only thing Karl Anthony Towns is basically an upgraded version of Kevin Love. So, you know, that's that there. But the main point of emphasis is Stephen Curry is a so-called superstar. And if you're a superstar, you should at least be able to carry your team to the playoffs, and you shouldn't be in the 10th seed behind the San Antonio Spurs, who's in the 9th seed, who doesn't even have a superstar. They don't even have really good role players, really. They just got a good coach. That's all they have. They don't even have really good role players. Like Patty Mills is a lot older now. I can't really name anybody else on the team. I really don't care. Well, no, I know who Rudy Gay is, but Rudy Gay has been, you know, pretty much predominantly trashed for a long time now. He showed a little promise on Memphis back in the day, but that was very little promise. Some dude named Derek White is trash. You know, DeJounte Murray, you know, people were talking about him at one time, you know, playing like a Kawhi Leonard, and he's going to be really good. No, he's trash too. So this is what I'm saying. There's a team in the Spurs who's at the 9th seed, and you're at the 10th seed with a superstar in Stephen Curry. I mean, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense at all to me. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, my thing is this, you know, don't crown Stephen Curry so much, because all the shooting that he does, it's only because other superstars allow him to get those shots off, because he's not getting them off and playing at a high level by himself, not consistently, because if he was, this team wouldn't be in the 10th seed. If at bare minimum, this team should be 7th seed, bare minimum. I mean, he doesn't have Klay Thompson, so what? Bare minimum, they should be a 7th seeded team. Bare minimum. They shouldn't be no lower than that. But this just goes to show how they overhype players all the time, and how they put players in these categories that really don't belong to be there. Is Stephen Curry a top 10 player? Yeah, he is. But he isn't what everybody made him out to be a couple years ago, because if he was, these are the times that show it. That 2 years ago against the Warriors in the finals, that's times you have to show it. You have to show how great you are. And like I said, everybody want to say KD was hurt that finals. I don't give a damn whether KD was hurt. What about when they injured Kawhi Leonard in 2017, when Zaza Pachulia put his foot under Kawhi Leonard, and Kawhi Leonard turned his ankle and he couldn't play the rest of the series? What about that time? Because from what I remember, Kawhi Leonard had Golden State down with Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry, and Kevin Durant, with 3 of them on the floor. They were down 20-something points against Kawhi Leonard. One guy damn near beat all 3 of them. And everybody knows if that series would have kept going, it probably would have went 7 games. Because the Spurs definitely was going to have the first game. Spurs were up by 23 points. Kawhi Leonard gets hurt. Then the Warriors going to run after Kawhi Leonard's out. Because when Kawhi Leonard was in there, they couldn't stop him. But he could stop those 3. And this is what I'm saying. Nobody wants to give Kawhi Leonard credit, but that's for another story. But my point is, a superstar should be able to do things like that. Get your team to the playoffs and see what happens after that. Now, I think Kawhi Leonard probably would have beat the Golden State Warriors myself personally, because I just don't think they're built with the manpower that's in Kawhi Leonard. To me, Kawhi Leonard is a guy who's ruthless, a guy who's a killer. Those 3 guys are just nice little boys to me. And that's how I look at Steph and all of them. Just nice guys, nice little boys. That's what they are. And they need to team up with each other to be elite. And this is why I said the same thing about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's a great player. I love KD. I love his game. I love how he plays. But at the same time, he's never going to get that respect that he feel like he wants until you take a team and win. Not a team like the Nets with 3 superstars and win. No, take you and a Kyrie, or take you and a James Harden, 2 superstars on one team, and go win a championship. Because you haven't proven that yet. But that's okay. We all know about you. We all know what you do. We all know what you did. But you still ain't proven nothing to nobody. This is why, like I said, to me, players like Kawhi Leonard is way more valuable. Kawhi Leonard never had a second superstar his whole career that he won a championship. You can't count the big three in San Antonio, they were old then. If they were young, he wouldn't have became the Finals MVP. If they were young, Tim Duncan would have been the Finals MVP. So this is what I'm saying. Kawhi's never had that, and he's already proven that he's a better player to me than Kevin Durant when it comes to carrying your team to a championship. He's already did that with Toronto. He already proved that. KD never proved that yet, so it doesn't matter. But the point well being, not to get too far off the subject, I just think the Warriors have been a team that's been disappointing, and I think they're going to continue to be that way. And I'm not sure even when Klay Thompson comes back, it's going to make it all so much better, because we don't know what condition Klay Thompson is going to be in. We don't know where he's at mentally, and it's been a while since he's played basketball. You don't step back on the court and make an impact like that all of a sudden sometimes. Sometimes you do, but a lot of times you don't, because you have to get your feel and your rhythm and everything back. And like I said, to me, Stephen Curry only plays great when he has another superstar, because if you look at the latter most part of his career, he played trash other than that. Before he got Klay Thompson drafted to the Warriors and Mark Jackson years ago, what type of player was he then? Did you even know he was in the league? No, you didn't. So that's what I'm saying. He plays great when he has other superstars around him. But what player can't play great when they have other superstars around him? This is the time where Stephen Curry should be wanting to prove to everybody, I'm a great player without Klay, without Kevin Durant. I'm a great player anyway. I can at least lead this team to the playoffs. But right now, you're in the 10th seed. And it ain't all because of injuries that he had, because he's played a lot of these games this season. They lost a lot of games under his watch, with him struggling in the game to even keep his team in contention. I've looked at a lot of games this year where they were down 20-something points and made comebacks and won a few of them, but they shouldn't be down all these points with the greatest shooter of all time. With the greatest shooter of all time, you should be in damn near every game. I say 5-10 points within every game you play. Or matter of fact, forget that. You should be winning a lot of the games if you got the greatest shooter of all time. But that's my point. Disappointment. So the Celtics and the Warriors have been biggest disappointments to me. And I'm just going to leave it there. But I want you to tell me, who's your biggest disappointments of the season? Do you agree with me, my take, or do you have your own take? Or who do you think is? Let me know in the comments section, because I like to see it. I like to see, who you think is the biggest disappointment, because, that might open up my eyes to something else. So, hey, like I said, leave any comments in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe if you haven't.